Right now at 11, the results are pouring in. The race for the White House still incredibly narrow and too close to call. And I'm Jamison Uhler. ABC Action News is your election headquarters tonight. We are breaking down the results of all the big races for you. And I'm Jamison Uhler. There's a rescue underway right now in the port of Tampa. This is a live shot right now from Action Air 1. Tampa Fire Rescue tells us that some heavy pipes fell on two workers on a ship at the port, and both are trapped underneath. Joining us right now on the phone is Deborah Warshevsky. She's from Tampa Fire Rescue. Good evening, Deborah. Thank you for joining us. Can you tell us what's going on with that extrication right now? I'm Jamison Uhler in Moore, Oklahoma tonight, where just 24 hours ago, where I am standing, was in the path of that powerful twister.
Jamison Uhler is live at the scene tonight with the very latest. Jamison?
Yeah, Brendan and Linda, I'm right outside of that Steffner home tonight, the center of a lot of attention. I want to point our camera in the direction of the front yard of that property. That machine that you're seeing there right now is being used by engineers. I am told that is called a ground-penetrating cone. It has a rod in there that about an hour ago, they stuck that rod into the property, into the earth. They went down to see if there were any other voids on this property that could cause them any trouble if they were to go in there and do a recovery mission. About 30 minutes ago, they did find a void that they said stretched out to the street, so they pushed our television cameras back another 20 feet. Our crews have been here since 1 o'clock this morning. We spoke to the brother of the victim, who is presumed to be dead inside that home, buried under the rubble. I also spoke to the man who has owned that home from day one for the last 40 years. Here is what we know at this hour. That sinkhole is inside that 1,200 square foot home. You will not see it from the outside at all. It is a hole that is approximately 30 feet wide by 20 feet deep. Think about that, 2 stories deep, and buried in that rubble in one of the back bedrooms is believed to be the body of 37-year-old Jeff Bush.
You can see they are slowly and very delicately lifting that up. They're trying to get that worker up there so that they can obviously get that worker to the hospital as soon as possible. The one good thing you saw from that picture, though, is that worker that they extricated was lifting his head on that backboard, so it shows that there is some level of consciousness there, which certainly is good news.
Take a look at this. They are excited about what they heard tonight. We are just getting showered in a sea of confetti and balloons right now. This is a delegation down on the RNC floor that is partying.
And I'm Jamison Uhler. New details continue to pour in tonight on that deadly explosion. Here are the latest numbers from officials. Updated within the last hour now. The death toll now at 3, and the amount of injured now exceeds 130. That's the result of 2 explosions. And according to the Associated Press, 2 other bombs were also found nearby. A pretrial hearing is wrapping up in the George Zimmerman murder case. Today's hearing will determine whether jurors in the case can hear certain testimony from witnesses.
When we came into town late this afternoon here in Moore, this is what we saw everywhere. Destruction and catastrophe just like this. Almost Armageddon-like. Where we're at right now is in a shopping center as you pull into town. It is a major shopping center. There is a hospital here, a bank, several restaurants, a bowling alley, and just here behind me, this is not a car lot. This was a doctor's office. Dr. Rod Miles and his wife Dawn were inside yesterday when that twister hit, right in the direct line of that tornado. And they tell us when they were inside there with some of their patients, these walls here behind them collapsed. Cars from the parking lot went on top of them.
The economic climate may be improving, but there's no sign consumers plan to return to their pre-recession spending. Our I-Team investigator Jackie Calloway found retailers and manufacturers using sophisticated new tools and technologies to get us to spend, spend, spend.
Our Jamison Uhler joins us now from one of those protest zones. And Jamison, there just aren't a lot of people to protest to right now.
Yeah, not at least at this point, Brendan, but even though the first day of events at the RNC are postponed tomorrow, they still expect a lot of protesters to show up here. And the city right now and law enforcement not so much concerned about the peaceful protesters who are expected to show up here by the thousands over the course of the next 4 days for the RNC and fill the protest zones like the one here behind me. But really, it's the anarchist movement that has considerably grown in the last 4 years that has the attention of law enforcement, the ones that caused so much trouble during the 2008 RNC in Minneapolis. And although it was 4 years ago, it was certainly a lesson learned for Tampa for this year's Republican National Convention. 28 days earlier in Polk County, Auburndale police officer Stacy Booth would also be the first on the scene of a domestic violence call. And just like Lionel, she would end her shift riddled with bullets, fighting for her life. We have an update now to breaking news we brought you at the top of this newscast. We have just learned that the Red Cross is activating crews from around the state of Texas to respond to an explosion at a fertilizer plant near Waco.
Hey, Ryan, thank you. And as I was talking to the family earlier today, the owner of that home and another man who was inside there last night when this all happened, they're certainly sensitive to all of this because they're not sure that when they go in there to demolish the home, whether or not a lot of the things, their keepsakes in there, are going to get ruined in the process. A lot of things that they want to go in there and get. But, of course, engineers have to make sure that that ground is stable before they can get in there even. And as you said, the family is certainly starting to get a little bit concerned with the fact that nobody's gotten inside there yet. Joining me now is John Marquardt. He is with HSA Engineers to kind of explain to us tonight if engineers can get in there, what are they going up against, John?
Now at 5, the story that seems to grow by the hour. There are developing turns in the scandal involving now former CIA Director David Petraeus and the South Tampa woman caught in the middle.